All right. What? Yeah, yeah. Let's both at the same time say 3, 2, 1, and both clap at the same time. So 3, 2, 1, clap on 4. Okay. Yeah.
Is recording now. Okay. So we don't have to synchronize our claps. Either way is fine as long as I have a reference for the video when I put it together for you to clap and for me to clap. But we can do it synchronized if you want to. Does that sound good?
That sounds good. I'm
Okay.
going to clap.
Good. Are you? Do you want to count? Do you want to count
Explained
down?
it to me, and then I. Okay. Yes, I would like the countdown. It's easy for my brain to understand.
Okay. Well, so you count down, and I will clap when I see you clap, or when you say it, clap, or whatever. Okay.
I'm gonna clap on 4, but I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1, and then I'm gonna clap.
3, 2, 1, clap. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Perfect. Okay. That should give me a point of reference enough to do this. And I'm going to keep this whole thing in there so people can watch us be idiots.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Lord, how are you?
I'm doing all right, buddy.
Good, man.
How was your week, or 2 weeks, actually? How have you been?
Hectic, actually. It's been very good, but it's been very hectic. I don't remember if you remember, I had an employee, I don't know if you saw this online, I had an employee end up leaving. He'd been with me for a super long time and needed a break, change of pace. And so I've been working a ton of extra between both shops for a little while. That's going to be regulating pretty soon and sort of calming down. But my schedule's been really hectic. I'm doing a lot of 10 or 11 a.m. shifts until 10 at night. From GA to the end of New Game Plus. So a lot of long days, but it's worth it. It's been a lot of fun.
Nice. It's always rough when somebody that's been there a while does their own thing, because you got to get somebody new in, train them. It's just... But I hear you.
Yeah, I figured it all out. But it's been nice because I've been back at the store, which I think has been good for me. Because, I mean, almost this entire time I've been exclusively at New Game Plus for the last 7 or 8 months. And so to, I think, be back at GA and really working with my guys has been extremely good. It is rough to, have to sort of hit the reset button to a degree. But it's also really good to be back there working pretty actively. So, but I do have some really cool news. My phone stopped making phone calls.
Wow. A phone that doesn't make phone calls.
And it sounds
fancy.
It sounds like most
story?
people's dream, right? I think a lot of people hate calling on the phone because
yeah, because I think people have yeah.
So it's like the best case scenario for
a phone. It's like an anxiety these days.
Oh, completely. But yeah, it's awesome. If you call me, I can't hear you and you can't hear me, but I can it'll ring, and that's where it ends. There's nothing else that can be done.
Oh.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's fun. But I don't understand. I don't know. I'm gonna get a replacement probably tomorrow, so I'll figure that all out. But
well, that's good.
Tell me about your week. Tell me right now.
I had a mild bout of anxiety about the podcast.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Danny told me something many moons ago. He said, You can't just make something without planning it or having a theme or having because again, I don't know if we said this last week, but I've been trying to get a podcast going with him forever. But he wants a format. And I'm kind of like the chaos guy that's like, oh, let's just talk about stuff.
Sure.
Like, we had an election recently, and we could talk about that. And he
Right.
was like, oh, my God, I got to kill myself. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
so you don't mind
my anxiety.
Okay.
No, I don't mind the chaos.
Good.
It's just when I thought about what other people that might be listening would appreciate, I was like, oh, no. They're not going to agree with me. They want structure. They want, a podcast on this episode about this, or
sure,
at least predictable segments, but then I was like, whatever. But then
there's more. All right, tell me.
no. Then I saw the video you created, and I saw how balding, or how much I'm balding, and then I was like, oh shit. Oh no. I've never cared about my image until now, baby.
So what idea did that give you, or is it just that? Because it sounded like you're.
Solution.
Oh, okay. So it sounded like you were watching the video and suddenly it struck you that like here's how we put structure to the podcast, but instead you saw the video and realized that you're more anxious because there's no structure and you're balding.
Yeah, I had a bout of anxiety, and then I got over it quickly, and I was like, wait a minute, there's nothing I could do about any of this. I'm not going to plan anything, and I'm not going to lose weight or get more hair.
Right, that's true. Yeah, it's all fruitless to pretend that any of that's going to happen. We're almost 40 years old. Like, we can make plans all day, and none of it's going to come to fruition.
Also, I wanted to address one giant elephant in the room.
Okay.
Last week, okay. You and I ran through getting everything set up, and it was very haphazard or whatever.
Sure.
But I thought I got it down, so I put the headset on.
Oh no,
you
froze
and
up.
I were talking perfectly fine
there?
on Discord in my ears, but I didn't
real
realize
quick, you,
the Audacity.
Repeat that.
Oh no!
Repeat that if you can.
Hold on, let me.
Sorry, you like froze for a second.
I think I'm getting bad internet lags on the laptop.
Okay.
Let me plug in directly. Hold on.
That's fine.
The Ethernet cord is nowhere near me. Hold on.
Oh my god. Okay. So this is great because obviously if there's going to be like a downtime, I want to make sure it's not just like dead air. But when you were mentioning the idea just now of an elephant in the room, in my mind, the first thing it went to, I don't know if you can still hear me at this point. The first thing it went to was you said something like really risque, or that like your priest was going to hear, and you have to sort of address it in order to not get in trouble with the papacy. Okay, there we are. Now you're reappearing. All right, Jason's coming back, plugging in the Ethernet cord. Stepped away for a second. Right. Okay, there we
Plugged
go.
In. Cat 5, baby.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, Cat 5.
What was the last thing I said?
So the last thing I heard you say was you needed to address the elephant in the room, which I just explained to people in order to prevent dead air, that I thought there was like going to be something really like looming regarding guilt around the situation of the podcast. Okay.
Nope.
All right, tell me.
It was I wanted to address how terrible my audio was in the last one. When we loaded Audacity, I wasn't smart enough to look at which mic it's receiving, so I had this Bluetooth speaker that I got like 6 years ago that I use when I shower, and it was sitting off to the side on the desk, way over here. So here we are chatting on Discord. It's sounding great. Everything was good. But Audacity was picking up Bluetooth behind me to the left. Yeah. Shitty-ass audio quality. So,
it wasn't that bad. I listened to it to make sure, and it was audible. So, like, the bottom line was that people could still hear us just fine. And I had to address some mic stuff on my end, too, so it's not a huge deal. But now I think we're set. We did, like, another pregame. We actually started this around 10:45. It's now 11:15, and so it was like half an hour of troubleshooting our computers.
Yeah, so. I think that we would try to figure this out beforehand.
I know. It's never going to happen. But, okay, so your week was good. You were balding.
It was good. Yeah, I'm balding. I showered at some point. I cooked some Chinese, the Chinese call it mapo with a P, M-A-P-O, tofu. Okay. The Koreans call it mapa tofu.
Okay.
And the Japanese call it ma-bo tofu with a B. But it's just tofu with spicy bean paste, like chili, like a spicy tofu pork little goopy stuff that you put on rice.
That sounds good.
My week couldn't have been better.
that made it for the whole week. So even if you had a bad week where you broke an ankle or like hit somebody's car, the tofu from whatever region was good to go.
It fixes it.
I like that. I like that. Okay.
So what did you want to chat about, brother?
So I was thinking, because you did suggest the idea of, I think you said, what do you want to talk about in our Facebook messages, and then you said Danny thinks that without structure this is going to fail, which sure, very well may. We might have to figure out a format. I think the only thing that we have solid is that during the last 60 seconds we try to make one another laugh, and that probably can't be the whole basis for the whole thing. No. But I still think it's a very good sort of bookend.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
people can witness us fail every single week to make the other person laugh.
Oh yeah.
And then, that's just the way it's going to go.
Absolutely. So here's what I was thinking is we could just talk about a variety of things and, things that we used to do when we were younger. We could always recap those stories. But what I was thinking about doing was, we've had a lot of experiences growing up, playing video games, watching movies, TV shows. On the drive home, I was thinking about the movie, I think it was 28 Days Later, and how it was like during this really beautiful, serene moment where Cillian Murphy's character is like looking in the mirror. He like gets accepted into a house where people have sort of like saved him, and he's excited to be alive, but like it's a deep, poignant moment, and he's looking in the mirror and he's shaving his face, and the theater is quiet because it's really like, oh, this is so powerful, and he's shaving his face, and then he cuts his goddamn cheek, and you just start screaming with laughter in the theater, and it is the most disruptive, wonderful, exclusive moment that could happen in a film like that. And I was thinking about that.
It's great at the time. Great at the time, John.
Do you regret it now?
No, I don't regret it.
Okay.
But I would if I experienced it now that I'm older, I would hate the person doing it and judge them hardcore. Be like, I paid good money for this movie. There's some fat ass over there. But I don't know what it struck me, dude. It was just there's no reason for them to include the pain of shaving with no water.
On why it happened.
It's a zombie movie, and they're just like, what?
That's fair. Okay, so like at this point, it's you've gone from hating the young man in the movie theater now who laughs at it, but you're still hung up on how inappropriate it was for them to make him cut himself in the film.
It's their fault. If the director or whatever, the screenwriter was like, let's put this scene in that some people will, because I know I've tried shaving without water or the gelatin.
Just a dry shave, yeah.
Yeah, it's painful, dude. It's just pulling your hair out because I didn't have nice blades,
right?
So it was just
rusty and
hair out.
You're just yanking. So you don't think he like took like there's like lotion after he got out of the shower, or do you think he literally just dried his face off as much as possible, wet it with water, dried it again, and then shaved?
It's hard to say. I don't think they had lotion, man.
It's hard. Okay. I mean, it seemed like a pretty nice house. They had food. Do you think lotion was gone? I guess otherwise he wouldn't have cut himself.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about that on the way home.
Yeah.
So
it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to think about the things that made me laugh back in the day.
Yeah.
None of them made sense.
But it doesn't really have to, which is kind of great. I think it's humor is important, especially what it was for us, because we didn't really have to make sense of it. We just sort of laughed at shit, And that's kind of
all day.
Pretty much all day.
Oh. John. John.
What?
I'm just remembering the time we were. I think we ate like Olive Garden, and we were all like, there was 5 of us in the car. I don't know who it was, and we were just driving up the little path from Olive Garden, the secret path along the back of the parking lot that heads to San Mateo.
Yep.
And we saw the light turn green, and we were all like, yes, this is our chance. We don't have to stop at the red, because that light is always red.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went through the light like once in a lifetime green, but there was a huge divot that we didn't account for, and we violently
like bottomed out.
We violently hit that, but yeah, dude, it was so. It came out of nowhere. We were all just peaceful, like listening to probably like, oh god, what was on the stupid CD, like Reverend Horton Heat. And then all of us are violently boom. And, the amount I laughed driving up Academy.
I do remember that because I said that was awesome, and you,
yeah,
dude, it was the greatest. I think it was you, Aaron, Fielding.
Oh my god,
Danny probably was that in like the little Tercel.
It was the little Tercel, dude. It was. I don't think I laughed because it was shocking and it was kind of scary. And then you said, I can't remember what you said, but God, it
something along those lines. Yeah, that's that's perfect. That's what I wanted.
Painful.
I wanted you to love me. Okay, so actually another thing that I was thinking of, and I thought this actually might make kind of an interesting conversation. There's a lot sort of surrounding it. So as we've discussed previously, we used to play Smash Brothers a lot. We used to play a lot of video games together, but we scooted into Smash Brothers at some point. There was sort of like a segue where I think we went from playing games, sort of like single player experiences, Banjo-Kazooie, Final Fantasy VII. Things that were just sort of like formative for us when we were younger, and eventually moved to sort of like a competitive element. And I know for you, you've told me that in recent years, and maybe even the past 10 to 15, you have really scooted from, we'll say, like a single player experience to things where you feel the need to win. So Dota, maybe League of Legends, I don't know if you play League, Smash Brothers, but like you sort of stepped away from single player experiences from what I remember you telling me, and focusing on competitive gaming because you just felt like you needed that was your win, not beating a game, but beating other people. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So what do you think it was? Yeah, okay. And because we used to play a lot of games competitive, we still played, StarCraft and Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter Alpha, a lot of things like that. But it feels like probably post-college, post-2000 sometime, you started leaning into that really heavily. What do you think? Why is the competitive scene, what changed for you in that?
I often tell people that what happened, getting into competitive gaming is like, I can't remember the movie. I want to say Sphere with Dustin Hoffman, where like there's this line where they go up to this like watery, I don't know, circular thing, and he looks into the void, and like I think there's a line in the movie or something like that that's like, if you look into the void looks back at you. Sure. That's what happened with me with competitive gaming. Once I tasted of this forbidden fruit of like victory, and learning how to beat somebody, it fired all the dopamines and all the happy drug in my brain, and so like anything else was, it didn't satisfy me anymore, and that is, that's continued to this very day. The new Final Fantasy came out. I played it like crazy, but so many times when I was playing it, I would look over behind my shoulder on the computer and be like, oh my god, I could play Dota. Okay. It's just something about the drug of competition. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it happened, but
so you crave. Would you say that there's like a certain like time or a game that really like sort of scooted you over? Because I know, like, we used to play a lot of stuff together, and I think it was still mid 2000s. We were playing Smash a lot. You were getting hyper competitive, going to out of state tournaments. Do you think that's probably what started kickstarting, or was it like StarCraft? Because we also used to play that a fair amount, and I know you were very into that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what title really began the process, because I could think back to playing Ken Griffey Jr.'s, I think it was like on the Super Nintendo or something. Me and JR would be going at it hardcore, trying to get as many home runs as possible, and so we didn't care about the actual game itself. We we just wanted to beat the other person in whatever competition was going. And so yeah, StarCraft was huge. And also, there's something really addictive about learning from other people how to get better, right? So you watch a video, a Twitch video, or you watch these tutorials on like techniques, and it's like, I don't know, it takes a game and it just makes it so much deeper because you could dive as deep as you want. It seems, you know what I mean? Like as far as you want to take it, you could do it. And there was to me, it was just super intoxicating.
Okay, because yeah, I mean, I guess that makes a lot of sense. A game is still, like, even if it's very in-depth by itself, a game is still developed in linear fashion to a degree. It might have a lot of facets, but people are the infinite variable. And there will always be somebody better. There's always something to reach for. There will never be a point in which you are truly top of the top, ever.
Yes.
So, you might be that temporarily, but it will never, last. And so you sort of felt like this high, is what it sounds like.
It really was. It's like I've got a couple of platinums on the PlayStation back in the day, and it was fun and all, but literally the second that achievement was earned, I just never thought about the game again, and it was done. That chapter was finished. But with competitive gaming, there's always that siren singing, calling you back, like, ooh, but what if you try this build, or what if you did,
Yeah, and you don't really return to single-player games. You're kind of like a one and done, was what I'd imagine. I don't feel you're probably like that's it.
No, I've only ever played 2 games twice: Final Fantasy Tactics, and I think actually the recent Final Fantasy VII. Otherwise, it was just one and done. Yeah,
that was a great remake, by the way.
Oh my gosh, so good.
And you know me, like my history with 7 is a little bit rocky as like a game in general, and I've eased up on my opinion over the years because I don't want to disparage how people feel about it. I think it's an absolutely terrific, excellent, and paramount game, but I find it hard to go back and kind of play because the translation to me is still it's rough. It's kind of it's a sticky older game, which a lot of older games are, and that's fine. But playing through the remake really made me feel like that's exactly what I wanted when I was younger. That's sort of what I set myself up to get as an experience, and it felt like that. And that remake absolutely floored me, every second of it.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. So I know we dived into my competitive gaming, and there's really no further that you could take it. I can't explain any differently, like why I like competitive gaming or multiplayer gaming so much more than single player.
Yeah.
But I want to flip it on you and ask you, how is it you've maintained your love for video games of all varieties? However, I kind of feel like you never really you never stared into the void of competition as much.
Not nearly to the degree. No, there was a time when we were doing Smash Brothers, and even in more recent years, probably like 5 or 6 years ago at Super GA, where I had the time also to play and practice and dedicate myself to PM, because it was very much like everybody around me is playing it. You're playing it. Michelle's playing it. Michael's playing it. We have this whole group of people every Sunday night that shows up for 6 hours that plays it. Like, there was a place for me to really perform. And so while that was happening, like, really, really, really actively, it was really nice to have a community and a group to dedicate myself locally, especially to playing that, like, super frequently. And then I remember, and this is sort of where I felt that things had changed for me, because when Smash 64 came out, it was like we sort of picked it up really not knowing a whole lot about it. We played, I think Danny and I probably played it the most at first, and then once you started picking it up, you became my sort of like person to play that with very regularly. And we would literally spend hours, every night playing, sometimes even matches that would last literal hours. And when Melee came out, it was like, holy, we gathered around, we made it an event, we waited for the UPS guy to show up to replay games to get the import as close to day one as possible. Then when Brawl launched, it was the same kind of thing. We were all very excited. We couldn't wait for everybody to sit down and play, and we had this huge group of people, and we all played it together. So when PM was sort of like at the height of this, it was like the culmination of all these Smash Brothers experiences that we were playing all at once and getting really into, and holy smokes, I can practice for hours at a time with all my friends all day long, all night long, and it was wonderful. And then Smash for the Wii U came out, and we had like a celebration at GameStop for like a midnight release. And then I went home the next day, and I just played it by myself. And it was sort of like, it felt like a muted experience. Like it was kind of like, this is great, but like the glory of when we got to play it together had passed. And since I wasn't playing with my friends day one nearly as much, if at all, it was sort of like, well, this is really cool. I can't wait to get together to play. And the period in which I would play the game with friends extended further and further. It might have been like twice a week, or maybe every other week, or then maybe once a month. And so that was what really sort of pulled me away from it, because I didn't have the opportunity to sink into it the time required to get really good. So I thought, okay, I'll play it when I play it with my friends, and I won't worry about being good anymore, because I simply can't dedicate that same kind of energy at this point in my life. And that was kind of sad, because it was kind of like a turning point that I recognized, and I still had a fun time. But, oh my god, hold on, my thing just stopped recording. I've got to go to the very, very end of this. So stupid.
Yeah. I'm glad that I'm not the only one that has tech troubles.
Oh my god. Hold on. Okay, I hit the space bar. Jesus Christ. Okay, well, there's still going to be a little bit of audio from the video on this thing.
Blemishes are hilarious, dude. The first 10 minutes of the last podcast really made me laugh.
I know. It's so stupid. Okay, so I've got this now to a degree. There's going to be like a small lull. I'm going to clap again. So I know. Jesus Christ. Okay. So stupid. I'm going to keep my hands away from the keyboard, or at least put a different window in the front or something. Okay.
That's what I did. I got a notepad open.
Okay. Dang it. Anyway. So yeah, because I was trying to think of like when in our lives you and I got really competitive. In fact, out of the entire group of friends, you and I were probably at each other's throats the most, because it was fighting games, it was racing games, it was Guitar Freaks. We used to play and fight each other in that all the time. But then it started to extend into weird things. Like there would be times when it would be like you and I in the car, and Lucas and somebody else, and we'd have to go home at the same time, and so we would drive as fast as we could to try to beat him home. And we made this cool strategy to like get home and then get in this house as fast as we can, and then pretend that we've just been busy for hours, like in the living room. It was so stupid.
What the heck?
I don't know.
Love it.
Youth, man. But also there was kind of an important thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Regarding competitive gaming, because we have a history of Smash Brothers, and at some point during the last part of last year, like late December, you messaged me and just were like, "Fuck Nintendo." Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Because
I was so rage filled.
There was a crazy debacle that happened with them removing was it Melee? I think from one of the events. I don't remember exactly like what happened, but there was a whole thing about Melee being sort of like not even like scooted to the side, but just straight up like plunked and like shifted entirely. And I had given a lot of thought to that. I mean, so what were your thoughts when that happened? Because I know you were, and rightfully so, I think, very upset, because it was a very strange move for this to happen.
It's just there's. Now I don't know how factual any of my information is. I hear things down the grapevine, and then I just get worked up, and and then I'm a Karen out in the streets.
I get you. Get you. Yeah.
So, I think that Nintendo's had a long history of kind of not really caring so much about the Melee community specifically, and the creator has been quoted like saying that he didn't really like the direction that the competitive nature that exists in Melee, as opposed to like he wanted it to be a fun game that like brought people together and like.
Like, do you think he felt it was too exclusive?
Maybe I just didn't like. I think that he didn't like that people were playing it, like with competition in mind.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted it to be a fun game and stuff, right? So. Mm-hmm. There's been a long history of Nintendo either trying to kill Melee by keeping it out of events, or adding things into the game that make it very difficult to take it seriously, like tripping in one of the titles, or like intentionally slowing down some of the just some of the moves or something. And and there came just a boiling point where they stepped in and made it difficult for the community to even do its own thing, completely separate from Nintendo. Just like they realized, oh, Nintendo's like, this is the black sheep. Melee is the black sheep of the family. But like to actively try to smush it out of its own lifeblood, it's just it's super. For me, it was very personal because like a lot of people put their blood, sweat, and tears into the title.
Sure.
I don't understand why they couldn't just be like, well, we created it, and you're doing your own thing with it. Cool.
Yeah, it comes off as very tone deaf to your community.
Just to that community.
Sure.
Because I think the larger community doesn't really give a shit, right? So that's why I don't understand why they make the drastic moves that they made. I understand they got to protect their IP and everything, but like, from who? the people that buy Melee are still gonna be the Nintendrons that they were before. They're gonna buy all the new titles. They're not like pirating these things and siphoning money away from the company and like. I don't know. I tried to look at it from every angle, and I could not see a single point that made sense to me.
Sure. So I had been doing some research to try to figure out why, because it sounds like, why would you do this? What is the point of getting involved in something that no longer actually financially can affect you, and it looks like it takes joy away from your community? And so Sakurai he made a really interesting sort of comment in one of the earlier Nintendo Directs, I think it was this year, while he was like presenting. It might have been Sephiroth or like one of the other characters, maybe Steve from Minecraft, I don't know. But he was talking in his presentation about frame data and hitboxes or something that was a lot more technical, and then he made a comment that said, "Oh, oops, I'm not supposed to talk about that." And it was kind of like, okay, like, is he adhering to what higher ups say because he really wants this thing to be in there, but he's under duress to make the game appear as more friendly, where he recognizes that these things are being called for and appreciated by the community. But then, on top of that, because, that might just be an aside, that might be something that, has no bearing on him, I was thinking about last year's allegations that came out in the Smash community. I don't remember those, with a whole lot of like prominent players and a lot of weird like sexual misconduct stuff. And my theory at that point became, well, did Nintendo want to step away from this entirely and actually just say, look, because, we have complete jurisdiction over any professional Smash Ultimate event because we're involved in it, that's great. But in terms of like this side event for Melee that we have a lot less control over, we're just going to let you guys figure that out, but we don't want to have our hands dirty with all of these allegations going around and just say, figure it out. And I wondered how much of an impact that had on their decision to sort of just say, because this game, is supported by us, but not officially, it's easier for us to simply just let it be swept to the side until it blows over.
Yeah.
And I wondered how much of a role that played.
I'm sure it played a role. I'm sure that they considered all the angles, the legal terms of allowing players to stream the game, especially when it's been modded. The way that the community has, and I mean I get it. But only looking through a very specific small lens.
Sure.
And it's very difficult for me to ignore all the rest of the scope of what's going on. And it couldn't have made things easier that so many players were doing some pretty crazy bonkers things. But I mean, I don't know. It's imagine if the NFL were to be like, well, a whole bunch of our players historically have done some pretty bad things. Yeah, we're just not going to allow this to exist anymore. And then they totally, I mean, I can't even put it into context of how the NFL would lay down the law and strip the community of its lovely game in some way, right? I don't know what the equivalent would be, but I think that the reason I was so pissed about it was just the cherry on top. It was just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Nice. I get you.
It's painful, man.
Yeah, it's frustrating to see, especially when you're like a longtime fan of a game that's been, so central to your life. to sort of see it. And it could be a call made exclusively by higher ups. You work in legal, you also understand that like sometimes like the law of a company versus like the heart of a company clash, and that sucks even worse. And who knows in this case? I can't say for certain. It could have been just a bunch of asshole execs being awful, or it could have been a legal team making a bunch of terrible calls, because that's happened before too. You've had terrible calls be made before that are just legal, knee-jerk responses that ended up getting changed later because the parent company goes, hey, that was not necessary, legal guys. So it's really tough to say in this particular case because there's so little information about what truly could have happened. So I was curious, to see a more elaborate take from you, and thank you, for that. I'm interviewing you as if
this is... Thank you for listening to my my rage.
Yeah. This is like I've never heard of you before, but I'm really interested to getting to know about you. I don't know.
Thanks, Steve.
The
talk show host.
Yeah, you're welcome, Roger. Now let's get back to Bryce, who's over at the Tampa Bay Steelers Outback outpost. What do you have to say? Hey, Bryce, too. Is there a second Bryce? I'd imagine there's two white guys named Bryce.
Well, duh. Bryce and Steve.
Bryce and Steve are the two Bryces.
I was wondering what your perspective on gaming was.
Tell me what my perspective is.
I imagine that you just are able to accept a new title as its own little baby that you're gonna love for its own little unique properties, and you're not gonna have a single favorite out of all the babies that you have come into your home.
Sure.
Right? Whereas me, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't play a new game and truly commit myself to it because I'll start thinking about competitive gaming or real life. Less time.
What's
really
the last game
dive
you
in and
craved
and experience games the way I used to? So how do you do it, brother?
Mm-hmm. Well, so like, it's hard because I think what helps a lot is that I play games now less than I ever have, and it's simply because I'm surrounded by them. I think I told you this last time. I like sort of being behind the curtains and letting everything sort of happen, and I get to sort of facilitate and watch and really enjoy it. But that said, I still like to play games whenever I get the chance. I love finding a game that I can sink myself into, that I like actively crave playing all the time. Like right now, anything I play makes me just want to play Breath of the Wild, because I loved playing that game so much. I felt such a connection to the character. I felt so entrenched in what I was doing, even if I was doing nothing, because I was doing something that felt good for me. Like that game, simply playing it released the endorphins just controlling Link. I didn't care if it an area was sparse because I was moving across a grassy field while the sun set, and it made me feel good. And not every game does that for me, but what has helped in recent years, and I think that maybe surrounding myself with games at the store has really, really done and allowed me to do with how I interpret games, if that's what you're asking, is I have preferences. I have personal favorites. I love Super Metroid. I love Mega Man. I love Zelda. I love, like a handful of really close titles. But I think what has really struck me is watching people love games that I don't necessarily love, or have even experienced. Because if they get the same kind of feeling from their game as I got from mine, then I feel good. That's what makes me feel good, is watching people love the variety of games out there, Because, you love Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
I think it's an outstanding game, but I'm so terrible at strategy games that I won't play it anymore. I played it a lot when it came out, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I wasn't good enough to beat it. So I just sort of played what I did and moved on and thought that was great, but I'll never revisit it. But everybody's got a game out there that is their game. Conversely, there are also games out there that are not, I've got Home Alone on the NES is one of the worst pieces of drivel I've ever played in my life. And I don't want to publicly shit on things because it's not my thing, but the game itself was so
I'm sorry.
not
I don't know if
for
you can hear
me
or not,
that
you're not moving, and I
oh no,
you.
Did I drop you? Did you drop back in? Did the connection drop?
I don't know what to do, John.
Hold on.
Frozen. Am I frozen?
Okay, well, My internet just went from wired to I can't recognize a signal. Okay. We'll see what happens. This is fun. This is what makes computers cool. Okay.
I have internet.
Oh, it stopped recording entirely. Start recording. Okay, you there? Hello.
I'm here. I can see.
Okay.
I can hear you. I
I'm
can see
here.
you now.
Okay. Hi. Here's what we got to do. We got to do another clap. Okay, perfect.
I clapped with you.
Perfect, thank you. Because it stopped recording. Because I don't know. My Wi-Fi just like turned off. My computer went into like, why is there a cable not plugged in out of nowhere? So This is gonna be a lot of video editing tonight to get this to work fine. But like that's fine. It'll be what it is. Stupid.
I love it.
I love it too.
I love it.
Well, this is what's kind of nice about giving me 2 weeks in between these things is to get them done. But at the same time, last week's took me no more than like 20 minutes to like put together and take care of, so it was fine.
Nice.
But I don't know where you lost me, or where
I lost you when you were talking about you were loved that other people were able to play games that you weren't into, but seeing them appreciate their game as much as you appreciate your games that you love, it brought happiness out of you. And then the screen froze.
Okay.
And I did
Okay, because I was also thinking about like everybody's got a game they also just don't like that they just feel like you feel sick when you play it. And I was thinking about Home Alone on the NES is one of those games for me that like I literally like I want to vomit while playing it because you're controlling this character and everything feels terrible, and the game's main objective is to survive for 20 minutes. So at its best, the game is a 20-minute long game that you have to survive, and that's not fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was the only game I ever rented as a kid that I begged my father to like, please go back to Blockbuster so I could return this and get something else. And literally, so do you have like one game that just stands out to you as being like nauseatingly like?
Let me think.
Like some of you like that we played together, or that you rented, or played at Danny's or something.
I'm trying to think of a title that I did not. Just everything about it bugged me. I want to say a couple of fighting games. Just they rub me the wrong way. There's too much things going on, and I can't comprehend what's happening. I think that there's like a rock themed, I don't know, some sort of like music fighting game. I there's like hardcore metal playing in the background, and a lot of people love it. It's at like one of those.
Was it Guilty Gear?
I want to say that all I know is that it's a fighting game, 2D fighter, and there's like hardcore rock playing, and like the characters are very like metal or emo. And it's just everything about it. I just like I can't handle.
Complete opposite of your aesthetic. You just don't want.
Yes.
So is it? Was it like from a gameplay perspective, or is it like simply like you look at the characters and you feel like old because there's a disconnect between like you and like a young guy with like a neck tattoo of a belt or whatever, like. Yeah,
that and just like a cute little doll that's controlling or I just it just pisses me off. It really is what's happening. I'm like, what's going on with these damn kids these days?
Yeah, no, that I get you. I wonder if it's like Guilty Gear or Skullgirls or one of these games that like feels very generationally sort of like shifted. Guilty Gear did come out when we were in high school. And I had the first one for PlayStation. We got it on the Dreamcast. And as it's evolved, I wonder if that's something that never like resonated with you. We didn't play it a ton, but we enjoyed it. I remember. Maybe you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it with Danny.
It's possible. I don't know. You guys, that's what I'm saying. You guys have always been able to try new games and appreciate them for what they were. I remember going to your house.
Yeah.
And you would always have a new title. There's like Bayonetta that you were into, and then there's like Devil May Cry's and stuff that I never tried.
Yeah.
And I would always watch you guys playing these games, and they looked fun. There's just something about me that's like I couldn't sit down and play these games anymore. Even like the new World of Warcraft releases and like games that I've truly enjoyed in the past, I can't sit down and play them. The new Mass Effect remake, like Legendary Edition or whatever, came out, and I thought that was gonna be great. Dude, I put like 20 some hours into it, and I just
that was it.
I have no ambition to put it. And it's not like I don't like the game. The game's great. there's something about me that's changed. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I think that's an important distinction to make when it comes to our taste. Is like, I think it's hard for people to feel sort of accountable that like you've shifted rather than oh, this game sucks or this game didn't age well or this or that. And it's like, what if you just interpret it differently because you're different? You know, you've gone through things and tastes and change. Like you remember probably like 20, 15 years ago, I was so into Japan and Japanese and anime and all of this, and like those things are fine, but they're not for me anymore. Like I like the Japanese language and Japanese food, but like I am not really into any of that almost at all at this point in my life. And there's nothing wrong with it. I don't want to tell anybody that like it's bad, but I simply have just sort of like preferences shifted. And so if I watch an anime I once liked, I might not like it now, and not because it's bad, but because it's like, okay, well, that's no longer music and movies and shows and and conversely, stuff I didn't like prior I'm now more into because again, tastes shift. But
one of the things that I've always wanted to try to experience that I know you loved is a show about like a murder, and it was like weird and artsy.
Oh, Twin Peaks.
As like Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
There you go,
yeah.
Twin Peaks. I've tried so many times to get through it, and it's not like it's bad. It's just I have a hard time connecting with the characters, and if I can't connect with the character, then
it doesn't feel like a Jason show.
I can't care.
Which is interesting because there's elements of it that I feel like you'd like because it's like a weird kind of humor, but I don't think it's your kind of humor. And I also know very distinctly at one point, like you hated things like Monty Python and British humor and just absolutely wasn't for you. And I'll say that I had a lot of tastes that were very similar, mirrored that a lot.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I think Michael Graham showed me a show. I think it was the IT Crowd, and it had like some really stupid stuff that made me laugh, and I was like, oh shoot, am I into this now? Then I ended up watching some other shows that I thought were stupid that I ended up really enjoying. Peep Show and a bunch of other weird, awkward, uncomfortable stuff. Then I realized that I just like uncomfortable humor, where people feel bad and it makes you feel bad to watch it. And I was like, okay, I'm into this. There's a show that gives Ariel such high anxiety she can't even physically watch it. Like she has to leave because she gets so upset. And it's one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. But it's David Cross, so it's American actor, but he goes to England. It's called The Increasingly Poor Decisions of Todd Margaret, and it will fill you with such anxiety that you might like it. I love it because it just makes you uncomfortable the entire time, and it never gets like better. It never gets less, uncomfortable. And I think it's great. I think it's absolutely.
It sounds good.
Yeah. So yeah.
The Increasingly Poor Decisions of
Todd Margaret.
Oh, Todd Margaret.
Yeah, I have the first.
I remember talking about this. So
I might have talked to you.
Yeah,
sure. I have the first season on my Amazon if you want to check it out. And I'll gladly share.
I'm always willing to try new shows. So.
Please, yes, please. But I realize that I'm getting more into sort of like uncomfortable, weird, like situational humor or presentation humor, people presenting themselves. And I don't know. Twin Peaks is a weird one because it's hard for me to imagine it being like.
But I hear so many people saying good things about it, though.
Yeah.
That's I feel like I missed out. And it's similar to like parties.
Mm-hmm.
You know how people go and party and get drunk and whatever, do drugs and stuff and have a great time?
Yeah.
I never got into it, so I never could understand the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with Twin Peaks. I hear so many people talking about this great show. It's like I'm telling you, I've heard so many people talk about and like rave about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I think I missed the boat. Is what happened.
That's fair too. Sometimes the people you watch it with, because I watched it in high school with Dan and Aaron, and maybe it was like the company that I was around that was just as enthused and excited during that moment was good. But if I had watched like that show with the wrong person, it might have been like, oh, this is a terrible experience. The show sucks. Or where you are in life, the things you've seen or done or gone through or experienced, or like where you are mentally can affect how something
totally
is perceived. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with not resonating with it. But
yeah,
what's a TV?
I think that's actually why I liked Final Fantasy VII so is because playing that game when I was very young, and I have very specific memories of things that were happening around the house that were very pleasurable.
Yeah.
While playing.
Yeah.
Right? Like my mom cooking or So I think that's the main reason why I liked Final Fantasy VII so much. It came at a real good time, at like a peak of happiness overall.
That's
And so,
yeah,
you know
super
what I'm saying?
important.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. I feel like that's what makes a game experience so important is simply not even just the game, but like what are the circumstances surrounding it? Because a game can be augmented by, my mom was at home making good food, and this memory is associated with it, or it could be like this game is important because it was an escape from a bad time. Therefore, this was the best
Yes.
memory I have of that moment.
Totally.
And this is why,
It's a big deal.
yeah, video games are obviously very important to me, and my experiences with them and you. I mean, I'll be honest. Most of my favorite ones with you are you and Danny fighting. In fact, I think you guys played Street Fighter Alpha 3 one day, and he just kept talking a lot of shit to you about how good he was at the game, and then you beat him like 40 times in a row. And
Oh my god, that was best memory, dude.
yep.
The best part of that whole story was how increasingly pissed off he was getting every time that he would lose. And I only played two characters
Yeah.
and beat him literally, I think it was like 40 or 50 sometimes in a row.
Yeah, it was like what
And I was
Rolento?
playing Blanca. Yeah, Rolento and Blanca.
That's what I thought.
And he was getting so pissed. He was like, "You're so fucking cheap," because I would just do the lightning. Danny. I mean, John, it was so funny because like his anger was fueling my happiness, dude. It was weird. I was siphoning this man's soul and just consuming it.
Angry. That was yeah.
God.
My favorite memories are watching
It's not
you
like
guys.
I'm good at the game.
But you were always fine at video games. In fact, you always had a knack for them, and I think it always upset me too because, like, I like to think of myself as good at video games. So then when I met you and you would beat me at video games, it would be like, oh, this how on earth is this possible? Especially when I was younger and my
Yes.
ego was a lot more, inflated. But I remember always being upset whenever you beat me because it was like, I'm the video game guy, like,
Yeah.
you can't do that. Obviously, like that's just young, youthful, arrogant, whatever. But
No, dude.
I
It
wanted to be
continues to
better.
this day.
But I wanted to like not have to change what I did and have you just be worse. So
Yeah.
that was the plan.
I'm glad you said that because I wanted to dive into that for a couple quick seconds.
Sure.
I think the main reason why I viewed you as my rival in video games was because I think in my mind, in my like, what is that Napoleon complex, where like you're always trying to be like, I'm better than you, I'm bigger, I could do that, blah blah blah,
Right.
that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did that to you. Like I believed that you were like in a bizarro form of me where like you were born into a better family and experienced things, but like my struggle clearly is going to make me better at this.
You're the
right?
underdog.
I'm going to be more yeah.
Yeah.
Like so like I always positioned myself as a rival to you from the underdog point of view. Where like yeah. So you were the prince, but I was the ragtag.
Do you think that was like a conscious
that
thing,
had
or like did you think that sort of like you recognized that later?
No, I think I think it played out in my actions, but I didn't realize it until older. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because I couldn't understand why with everything. That's why you and I would not get into tiffs, but like I remember often thinking to myself, I could do that better than John. Because even in comedy, like if you're making people laugh, in my head, it wasn't like something like, oh, I could do it better than this asshole. It wasn't like I was viewing you in a negative light.
Sure.
I was just like, oh, I'm gonna get into shit too. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
And what's kind of
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
about
yeah,
that is it's in its own way. Like it sounds like it's kind of a destructive thing, and I think it could lean that way. But I think there's such thing as healthy competition. There's such thing as wanting to like become better because not necessarily to outdo somebody else, but because somebody makes you want to do better. Whatever that reason might be. And obviously, like I said, it can take a very negative turn if it's left unchecked. But there's something kind of cool about wanting to outdo one another, especially with comedy or video game performance, because the better rival you are, the more I have to work better to beat you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's good.
Literally sharpening each other. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it was constructive in a lot of ways, and I don't think you and I ever really let it get too bad. We'd have, like you said, little fights and tiffs and stuff, but they were always really sort of surface level, and we never had like any sort of long-standing nonsense. And
we were buoyed by the fact that we actually had a good friendship. So
we did.
So even though there was competition, we had the fallback of being like, wait a minute, I actually really like this guy. So
yeah, nothing about it was ever really sinister. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
And so I always appreciated that. And I always really liked that, and I'm glad that we had that, because some of my fondest memories are hating you at video games. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You were like, I just can't believe that you could do something like, I couldn't believe that you were L canceling with Ness, and I didn't know about L canceling. John, you were I was like, how is your fucking character so, how could you recover so quick? And I would get so pissed.
That's what I wanted. That's all I wanted. I remember one of my favorite things in the world, and you used to hate this so much, is we'd be playing Smash 64, and I would throw you, but like you wouldn't die, and I would taunt anyway. And you'd always say, why are you taunting me? Yeah. You'd get so mad because I would throw you without you dying. And I would still taunt, and you hated every second of it. It was great. It was
dude. You pushed the buttons.
That's good.
And I was like, oh shit. Shit.
I needed to feel it. I needed to feel it on my face.
I love it.
I needed to just suck it up. Needed the suckered neck. Remember watching Dracula 2000?
Hey, I wanted to ask you about one last thing.
Was it Dracula 2000?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
Dracula 2... No, the computer froze for a second. You said, what about Dracula 2000?
Do you remember watching that movie?
Hold on. Is it with a handsome guy?
Yes. I think it's with Gerard Depardieu or something. But more important, I remember watching it because it had Vitamin C's boobs, because she got screwed on the ceiling by the vampire.
That was Dracula 2000?
Yeah. Do you remember there was like an era?
Watch list.
Okay. You remember during that era there was a lot of movies
boobs,
we were watching. Yeah, right. There was a lot of like sci-fi, like crazy, like this is the future. And there was like Jason Goes to Space or Jason X or whatever it was, and like movies started taking like this crazy like extreme turn and Triple X, and like it was all really attitude new metal like. Bizarre cinematic time. I love that kind of crap, and I was just thinking about Dracula 2000, and I feel like it was Danny who made us watch that.
I'm sure I've seen it with you guys, but my memory of movies, it's bad. I mean, you know this more than anybody about my shit Alzheimer's brain. Like, I can't remember things the way they are. Right? How many times have you been like, Jason, what did you just say? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, Ken Sees is the perfect example. John, here's the thing that pisses me off about you guys. Is you know the real name of the restaurant.
Yeah, it's true. Carl's Jr.
Carl's Jr. But in my brain, it's clearly Kent Sees.
Yeah, that's...
Let's go to Kent Sees, and in my it makes perfect sense. I didn't. Why would
registers to you?
Think about it.
Yeah. Not to me. It did not.
I don't know why I do that.
I like it. I like it.
You're like, what is Kent Sees?
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things though is trying to guess what you're talking about, because it happens so many times with so many different things, and you're trying to remember die-cast metal, and. But you kept explaining it as dead metal, and everybody was like, "What are you talking about?" And finally, we figured out, we deciphered the code. Yeah. But various names of like celebrities, Goldie Bloomberg and Waldorf Neeson.
Waldorf Neeson.
Yeah, that's your Ian McKellen, is what you called.
Ian McKellen. His name is clearly Waldorf Neeson. Oh shit. Mm-hmm. What struck me is that like I've never run into somebody that does that. Like most people are just like, yeah, no, this is what it is.
I think you and my dad. I mean, you as a young man and my 80-year-old father do the same thing. Where for the past 6 years, I think he's been calling Magokuro Maguro. And no matter how much, no matter how much I tell him the real name, it's done. Like it is not, it cannot register. You remember Golden Gun Gaming?
Of course.
Well, my dad has never called it that, because to him it's always Golden Arm, and it's been Golden Arm.
Yes, there's another one.
Yeah, so you and my dad very much have the same affliction of just not knowing the names of things ever. No matter how many times it's taught. Yeah, like he'll never. It's sort of like once it's registered, there's no room to overwrite. It's like a read-only file.
Yes.
So, you were about to ask me something though before I asked you about Dracula 2000.
I don't remember what it was gonna be about.
Jason.
Oh,
I'm sorry I derailed that.
Oh no, I remember.
Okay.
No. Your taste buds.
Yeah.
You're an older person now.
Yeah.
I think that you eat more than burgers and chicken tenders with ketchup.
I still eat those a lot, yeah.
Pizza, of course.
But oh yeah, no, it's definitely I've matured my taste buds quite a bit, and I'm still picky about certain things, but like I'll eat corn and asparagus all damn day, like, and that's something as a kid I don't think I really enjoyed that much, but like there's a lot more stuff that I truly just want all over my tongue.
Yeah, man.
Especially corn. What about you? Like, is there a big like taste change that you've undergone that like really like, it's just like it's a food you can't get enough of that you once hated?
Damn, it's hard to say. I've always had a kind of arm's length relationship with Chinese food. It's always been good, but I've never had an experience where I'm eating it and it changes me. But I've had that with all the other cuisines. In fact, yeah, I have specific memories of like Korean when you and I and everybody really we went to this place up on like Wantabo or Eubank.
Was it Fu Yang?
I think you introduced it to me. Fu Yang.
Oh.
Yes. Dude, they're bulgogi. When you eat that shit, it changes you. When I ate Noda's, when you eat their crunchy chicken, it changes you.
Noda's crunchy chicken will forever be the number one food of my life.
Yes, and I've had that with all the cuisines. I've had that a mind-blowing experience with like Indian, Italian, obviously, American. But dude, there's never been a Chinese dish where I'm just like, holy shit, I need and like I just shove people away and I need to look at it for a while. Never. The closest is what I just talked about at the very beginning of the show is mapo tofu, but really that's like.
But that's also Korean and Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. They all have their own versions.
Right.
And they're just as good. So
yeah. Okay. So and to this day, you think you still haven't had something like that's been equally as good?
No.
Okay. It's always been
I've had all the dishes.
You get some General So it's good. You get some orange chicken, it's good.
Yeah.
But like nothing has been like that sort of je ne sais quoi, like that you just
where it becomes a part of me.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, man.
That's now that you mention it, I'm trying to think of. Do you like crab rangoon? Can you do crab? You can't do shrimp, right?
I cannot do crab or shrimp.
So any sort of crustacean seafood like is out of.
Yep, anything with question. A shell it's end game.
Oh shoot!
Then we're playing the end game at that point.
Oh. Okay.
Which sucks. Remember I used to stare at you when you would eat Ragin' shrimp, and I was just imagine the delicious, the juices and like.
Oh, Jason.
I think a shrimp like fights you, but like you bite it and it pushes back a little. It's like I'm gonna snap it right now.
I'm just playing. Yeah, like it's got a little bit of.
Oh god.
Yeah.
I want shrimp.
Yeah, I'm sorry. For what it's worth, it is delicious.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Oh, good.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if I've actually. Now that you mention that, that's a really interesting point. If I've ever had like Chinese food that is truly like there's a lot of good Chinese food, but I also I don't know if I've had sort of like that like genre defining, experience. That's just like so good. I'll pour the Han noodles into my egg drop soup, and that's great. I'll eat the chicken and rice, but. Yeah, I can't think of like a single sort of like cuisine item that's just been like, dude, I need this, I've craved things. I've craved crab rangoon. I've craved, pot stickers. I've craved stuff, but nothing has ever been on the level of, like I need a big, tikka makhani bowl of some sort. Like that's, I know. So.
I love that you got into Indian too. Yeah, you took me to that place up in Rio Rancho, like Nepal.
Oh, Namaste.
Namaste, dude.
Life changer.
Indian.
Some of the best.
Yeah.
You get some of that garlic naan, you dip it in the. Yeah, it's perfection. It's too good.
Damn.
It's too good. Too good.
Dude, let me ask you this:
right.
Are you into traveling? Like, do you and Ariel have plans to be like, all right, we're gonna go to fucking Nova Scotia, fuck this shit, and you go and check it out?
God, the problem is getting away from the store for any period of time, especially with the new business. It puts traveling on the back burner so hard that like you know, last year we got away for
Yeah.
like a couple days to go to Disneyland, which I haven't been to in like 20 years, and that was great. But also like now at this point, yeah, I'm working 6 days a week for 10 to 11 hours a day, and I
Oh
simply
shit,
getting away currently is just off the table. So
that's rough, man.
soon though, we're
That's rough because
hoping, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to travel again. I'd love to go back out to Japan. I'd love to go to Australia. I'd love to go to Europe.
Yeah. When you went to Korea to visit your brother that one time, was it sick? I imagine it'd be cool
Yeah, dude, it was
hell.
sick as hell. I don't know.
Sick as
It
hell,
was,
bro.
yeah, dude. It was no, it was a lot of fun. um because when I was probably I think I just turned 18. It was, yeah, like November of '99. It was for Thanksgiving, and we went out there. He was stationed in the military, and I traveled overseas before. I'd been to like a lot of places. My mom was a travel agent, but Korea was a lot of fun. It was very new, culture shock, a lot of new food, a lot of new drinks, a lot of new, just um, I didn't know any Korean. When I was growing up, I knew enough Spanish to, be able to sort of exist, in Mexico. We'd taken trips out, outside of the States. But in Korea, I was as foreign as it got. It looked very
Yeah.
Japanese in terms of being an Asian country with, colorful
Yeah.
arcades and things
Lights.
like that. But it
Yeah.
was it was very different, and it was a lot of fun. Um, Found a lot of cool stuff out there, and we were only there I think for a week, but it was a great experience.
I'm jealous just because that's the land of StarCraft, bro.
I got a bunch of StarCraft stuff when I was there. I don't know if you remember. I got like a StarCraft. It's not up here on my desk. Where is it? I
Yeah, I
think
think I remember.
moved it. I have like a Zerg toy that I had gotten. I think it's up on one of these shelves somewhere. An actual like, yeah, Zerg toy and some StarCraft shirts and StarCraft potato chips that I brought back. And
Yeah.
yeah, like it was cool to go out there and like, because as we've grown up, video games were never the cool thing. They were sort of like a tertiary side thing to life, and sometimes the cool kids would go play, Mario Kart with their friends or whatever. But they weren't like gamers. They weren't, being seen playing games. And then, once like Halo took off, it was very cool to go play, games with your friends. But when we were growing up, we had Final Fantasies, and that wasn't cool. We had our Mario
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brothers, and that wasn't cool. We had Metroid and Zelda and Pokemon, and that wasn't cool.
Hmm.
But the subculture started to grow, and so going to Korea and seeing like a video game like featured very actively was like, wow, like this is cool. This is I've
Yeah.
gone to a country where
What
people
planet am I on?
they
This is so
embrace it,
cool.
yeah. So that was really neat. I felt like that was a great experience. But StarCraft, I remember
I
our
love it.
obsession with StarCraft began. Goddamn. So we bought this game sort of on a whim. Maybe it was Adam Searle's recommendation. Uh,
Yeah, it seems like a Searle thing.
yeah, we heard all the cool kids were playing it, all the cool nerd kids, Adam Searle and one other person.
Totally.
And so we bought it, and I remember you and I stayed up and were trying to learn it so desperately, and we were so excited to play this game. And we're going through tutorial missions, and we learn how to make a base, and you learn how to have Marines
Yes.
come out of it, and then you learn oh, you can get two SUVs to help gather the gas. And we thought we were so like, holy shit,
Dude, yeah.
we're me and Jason were good at video games. Therefore, like, what we're doing right now, this is baby stuff.
Oh, this is
Don't
this is top level.
don't be a stupid
Yeah, yeah.
idiot playing against us. And so then our first online game, dude, you remember this because you were
Yeah,
screaming, and
dude.
so you we
You're
we
dumb, dude. You're
we
so dumb.
we're Terrans because we've only played enough of the campaign to know how to play Terrans, which is like 4 maps or
Yeah.
whatever. And so we're just like, okay, we're ready to go online. We're gonna take this to the next level. These fucking idiots better watch out. And
Yeah.
so
We're coming on the stage.
that's right. And so we pop online, and we've got our base, and we've got our Marines, and we've got our 4 fire bats or whatever, and we're scouting the area, and we're like, God damn, this is so easy. We're gonna go find these guys, we're gonna tear their assholes open, and then suddenly a group of guys starts, showing up and just destroying us. They've got 10 times the units we do, and they're face to face with our troops. And we were like, and you were so worried. And you were like, John, what are you gonna do? What's gonna happen? And I was like,
yeah, I was like I was behind you, and I was like, no, John's got this. I believe in him.
Yeah, we've got this, right? So I was like, dude, check this out. It's gonna be such a piece of cake. And so our base like lifts off and flies like northwest or whatever, and I was like, these fucking idiots have no idea what they're up against, They
like I got the next level strat.
They think
you know what's funny about that?
They think they've won.
In that moment when your base was being overrun and literally all the buildings were burning and you were clearly losing.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you lifted your command center and floated it, and you were like, Jason, don't worry, look, and then you showed me the command center landing in a different base. And I was like, "Oh my god, dude, you got this!" And I was into it. I was a believer that you had the victory.
You subscribed.
Card.
That's right. You knew. You were like, yeah, this is. There's no way. Like this idiot's gonna be any good at He's gonna think he won. He's gonna log off with a false victory under his arm, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna turn this thing around. And then moments later, he just shows up and just tears through the one base that lands in the middle of nothing.
It was a timing thing. I think the reason it was so funny, John, because I believed in the victory. I thought you were a genius for moving your command center.
Yeah.
And then when you produced, I think, 2 SCVs, and they started mining, right? And you're gonna get 8 minerals in like 30 seconds. And then suddenly on the screen, just nothing but Zerglings come and start, and like I think you looked back at me and you were like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's something there was a response of some sort, and you just started laughing and laughing because it was dubbed the super secret base. Like, you had to have like level 8 clearance to see this thing.
You said I have a super secret base with 2 SCVs.
And you were screaming, you were laughing so hard, you were bending over and just you're doubled over, like drooling and laughing because it was nonstop. One of my favorite.
I couldn't handle it.
And that was like our first experience with that game, playing 3 tutorial levels and thinking that we're good enough to go face the pros. Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
Gosh, dude, so good.
But I remember my first tinge of guilt playing that game.
How? What is this?
I made a custom map and played it online with somebody. And they started in the upper right, and they were, I think, defaulted to be like, whatever race they were, whatever unit they were. But in the lower left, I was defaulted to be the Zerg. And I started myself with like 18 Guardians or something, and like a whole bunch of, I was ready, right?
Immediately.
And so, like, I cheated. This is like a straight up like cheater maneuver. And so I waited for a couple minutes. And to let him like build up a couple troops and then start scouting, heading my way, and then suddenly 18 Guardians are just floating towards him and just destroy this guy, and he just wrote, "Oh damn, you're really good," and I felt so shitty. So I never did that again from that point on because I was like, I'm not out to truly dupe people. I guess I didn't know like the parameters of the game, or if this guy was gonna call me a cheater, and then I'd be like, yeah, and then I'd do it again. But the moment he was like, he
oh, shit.
He acknowledged my skill, I was like, I feel terrible about this.
That's deep, man. Like that's deep. That like touches the humanity of the soul.
That's right. Yeah, this is really, I saved a life today.
No, the fact that some kid, just doe-eyed, be like, wow.
That's true. That was us. Yeah.
Dude, you're really good.
4 games before.
And he honorably typed GG and left the game and admitted defeat. And
yeah,
here you were.
Yeah, just stupid piece of shit. Yeah, off in the corner in New Mexico, just laughing. But I legitimately felt so bad. I never did that again. It made me feel too terrible. Live and learn, man.
I love it.
Well, I think
Is there anything else you wanted to do?
Not one thing. Not one. I want to try to make you laugh. I want you to make me laugh, and I want to make you laugh.
Shit. Forgot about this. All right, hold on.
Okay. And the key is that it has to be audible. Like, if you can stifle it successfully, like, enough by holding it in, great. But, like, because I think people saw us probably laugh last time, and, like, we're visibly, like,
oh, yeah.
like, shaking.
That's true.
But I think, yeah, to try to have an impact on one another to, like, audibly, like, burst. It's hard to do also, like, on the
Damn it.
computer screen, but...
Yeah, because you can't smell my breath.
Is there a
anything?
parameter, like, that we should give, like, sort of like a guideline? Like, you have to use at least one prop, or you have to use a certain word or something?
No, man. No rules.
No rules? Anything
rules.
goes?
Anything goes.
Okay.
Damn, I'm not young anymore. It's hard to tap into funnies.
I know, thinking about that too. Like, in person, if we were hanging out for an extended period of time, maybe this would be easier.
Oh, it's easy.
But...
Because then you can see my gut, and, like, it helps.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It does help.
That shape.
That does help. It makes me feel good.
All right. All right, I'll give it a shot. I'll try to make you laugh.
Okay.
Let's do it. All right. You let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready. I'm starting the timer. Let me get the timer set. I'm starting the timer once I start the timer.
All right.
Okay. 1 minute and go.
All right, John. Imagine I wake you up one Sunday morning, and I'm like, shh, and I bring you over to the other room, and I want to show you my sick tat, and I just start unbuttoning my shirt. I'm like, look, bro, and okay, hold on. All right. I want you to think for a moment that the leader, the Kim Jong-un, he's in a gyrocopter, and he's just hovering over your house, and he's like, "Come on!" All right. Imagine you're typing one day, and your fingers are. Oh God, I can't do this, John. I give up. I'm gonna kill myself.
I'm just. That's 1 minute. That's 1 minute. I let it go at the very end there because I just. Stupid.
Damn it.
It's not easy. This is not an easy game.
It's not easy, man.
Also, as we're older and life is less funny, we become more.
Yeah. Once you start paying fucking bills.
Yeah, that's true. A lot funnier when I
I'll make
didn't
you
have to pay bills. Okay.
This is a picture of the cat when we first got him. It's maybe 3 weeks. Michelle sent this to me when I was visiting my mom in New Mexico.
Okay.
And it looks like, I don't know if the camera's.
Oh, that's a good boy. That's a good baby.
It looks like Michelle's squeezing the cat.
It does look like she's attacking
one of those
it.
rubber chickens. You know those chickens that opens its mouth
I
when
do.
you squeeze it? Like, yeah.
It does look like that.
All right, I'm going to set my timer for you now.
God damn it. All
I
right.
apologize because I think I'm more difficult to make laugh than you are. You have a happy soul.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
So let me do.
We'll see how this goes.
All right, are you ready?
Yep.
I'm going.
Okay. Hey, Steve, get your ass in here. My beer's getting warm, and I need some ice. All right, just cool your jets. I got you ice. How long?
No, dude, don't say cool your jet. You got me.
Okay, good.
You legitimately got me.
Oh, good. God damn it, I hate this.
Jets.
That's my least favorite part of this podcast. All right.
It is the worst. I love it. All right, buddy.
Oh, shoot. Well, then I suppose
it's
probably time for me to...
really pathetic looking face saying that.
Yeah, he's full of worried. He's got like a long face and lots of wrinkles, but like he's always got like those worried eyebrows. Yeah, and his hat's like coming up the top. Okay. Right. Well, this has been just fun. I like just catching up with you, and it just, I don't know if anybody else likes listening to this. I don't care. I like doing this and just having a good time. So,
absolutely.
With that, I guess I'll see you in another couple weeks.
All right, man.
Okay.
Episode 2 of Razor Burn.
So did we decide if that's what... I just put that by default because I couldn't think of anything else. But if we just want to dub this Razor Burn, I suppose it could be,
Whatever, man. But I do want to clear one thing up.
Okay.
You remember it slightly different. You think that you're just throwing the frisbee like with pace, like hard, like a hard throw. The thing that I remember pissing me off about Razor Burn was that we were all playing the game competitively. Remember, I like competition, and then it would be your turn to throw it to somebody, and you would position your body like you're a clown, and you would do weird things, and then you would scream Razor Burn and throw it straight. You would turn the frisbee upside down.
That's right.
And then you would do a weird movement that shot the fucking thing straight up in the air.
Not
so that
good.
It didn't go to anybody.
It was not good for ultimate frisbee.
Razor Bird, and it would just fly straight in the air, and we're all like, "What happened?"
It's not useful.
The game, bro.
Bad teammate. Yeah.
So that's why I hated Razor Bird.
That makes sense.
It was funny, but. Right,
you hated it. All right, Jason. I love you. This has been a blast. Thank you guys for listening, if you're listening at all. And we'll be back again in another couple weeks on Razor Bird.
All right, love you.
I love you. Bye.